Hello and welcome to the Engineer Your Success, Leadership, and Life Harmony Like a Mother show. I'm your host, Kenya Romanovska, award-winning investigative journalist turned maternity leave and working motherhood strategist. And I'm here to help you turn the motherhood penalty into your greatest advantage and to get the career, home life, finances that you crave while engineering a better world for your children. Now, today's topic, I warn you, it's going to trigger some people. It's going to get me unsubscribes. That's fine. The people pleaser in me would have been worried about that a couple of years ago. But if this message hits the right ears, and if you apply the concepts, I know that it can be as life-changing for you as it was for me. Okay. So if you're tuning in, again, some trigger warnings. And I will say this, if you are dealing with any bigger emotional or mental health issues, then you may want to park the implementation of this session because there are other things at play when there are mental health challenges, okay? And because we're talking about accountability today. So if you are dealing with any anxiety, if you're dealing with depression, then I suggest that you listen more to our webinar on dealing with anxiety and depression for STEM moms, and come back to this session when you feel better, although some accountability will be helpful. It may not be helpful to hear this message at a time where you're facing something quite difficult. Okay, so do let me know in the comments too if you showed up in the middle of this, because it can be triggering to listen to this message. It's not a very popular message. Today I was talking to two engineers. We're working together to reach more engineering associations, and they said, Kenya, like, how come the whole engineering world doesn't know about you? You're the only one we know who does this, who helps women like this for the main reason for leaving engineering, and more people should know about you. And I said, well, it's because there's an underlying message in what I do that may not be so popular with people. It's really tempting to adopt the attitude that's the opposite of what I'm going to describe today, and that's a trend. I'm not saying that piece, which I will address. I know you're kind of getting curious. What is she talking about? Or was she going to get to? Or why is she prefacing all of that with all this talk? But I'm not saying that what's pointed out is not an issue. I work on a slightly different front. So today's topic, the mindset disposition, is it costing your career more than any other belief that you might hold? And I'm going to have to go back 7 years pretty much after my first maternity leave, where I will be honest and vulnerable with you. I thought that it was my employer's job to make me feel comfortable. And let's face it, I mean, the best employers will create environments for their employees to thrive. But sometimes we can get so stuck in our victim mindset that we think that it's our employer's primary job to make us comfortable, whereas at the end of the day, we are hired and we are paid to meet an employer's expectations. Today, I'm not going to be arguing for inhumane conditions, but there is something that costs businesses a lot of money. And now that I'm an employer and I've hired people, I've trained people, I've had people on my team come and go, and I'm also growing as a leader, I'm realizing how critical this is. And it's the cost of drama to workplaces. The leading researcher in drama showed that people spend an average of 2.5 hours complaining, having stories in their minds, venting, instead of being solutions focused and asking the questions, what do I know for sure? How can I help? What does great look like? And this struck me like a ton of bricks when I came back from my first maternity leave, because my organization at the time was branding itself as inclusive, and I had this expectation that I would come back and that there would be some dialogue and accommodation of my new life as a working mom. But really, that wasn't the case. A lot had changed throughout my maternity leave, and I was in this full-on victim mindset. Now, don't get me wrong, I was performing great work for my clients and people were really happy with my work, but my underlying mindset was emotionally expensive. And that's when I really started. I found something on my LinkedIn feed about accountability being a mindset, not a skill set. And I really, it was the beginning of a journey where I took a step back and really started thinking, how am I contributing to my negative state of being? And, at the time, I had a supervisor, a new supervisor, not the one who had hired me. I was kind of struggling with their style, and I felt like a victim. I felt like a victim of the system. I felt upset that I couldn't pump in a clean room. I was in a dusty room with no chairs. And I mean, I had negotiated a part-time working agreement before going back to my position because I was adjusting to having a son with specific, eczema, allergies, asthma. It was a lot. And it was easy to think like the system is failing me, right? Of course, the system is failing us mothers. And there's so many things that are wrong with the system, but the system is built by people. And to design a system, it takes grit, it takes stamina, it takes accountability, it takes a vision. And for us women, I think, and I believe, because some of it doesn't exist yet, it takes rediscovering the feminine leadership traits and being able to thrive both kind of in our feminine energy and in our masculine energy, right? And I think that we've still got a ways to go for true accountable feminine leadership to emerge, because we are in a stage of history where as women, we're still fitting into the old boys club rules to be able to perform and get to the top. And we're hitting these glass ceilings over and over and over again. And we're not going to fix it by staying in the victim mindset. We have to redesign the system. I digress a little bit. How does all of this apply to you and your career? Well, if I would challenge you to observe your thoughts and your reflections, because when we talk about drama, it's not just the complaining to people, it's the thoughts and the judgments and the labels that you have in your mind over and over again. And this is a tricky one. I've been working on this for years, and the ego is strong. This mentor that talks about accountability and drama, she says, your ego is not your amigo. And even if I do the emotional freedom technique for rescripting, tapping, I have like all my vision boards, I invest tons in mentorship. I started meditation recently that really forces me to observe my thoughts. That ego voice, I'm telling you, it is so strong. It always wants to, it thrives on seeing you as a victim. It thrives in judgment and labeling and kind of blaming, right? I catch myself. And the thing with meditation too, they say that when you start meditating consistently, it gets worse because you notice how little control you have over thoughts, that they kind of appear and pop up. It is a powerful, insidious voice in your head, right? So I want you to ask yourself, are you accountable? If you had to do an assessment, and if you're listening to this and I'm going to be covering this in the leadership modules of the Mom Bee program, and right now in our integration month, how accountable do you think you are? How much time do you spend on drama, on blaming, on victimizing, on looking outside of you for what is wrong in your life? Again, if you are just tuning in, if you are dealing with any postpartum anxiety, depression issues, this message for you might be difficult to hear today. So please feel free to tune it out or send me a DM and say like, Kenya, this was mega triggering. I'm not happy with what you're saying today and I feel kind of lost. I'm happy to support you with that too, because the last thing I want to say is, the system is fine. We're being treated fairly as women, and like you should have no reason to feel depressed or anxious. They're kind of two levels of experience in life, right? It takes having systems in place to address all of that anxiety, depression, and negative thinking that can come with a postpartum period and adjusting to being a new mom. So this message about that is not today, right? But if you feel strong enough and you feel like you're kind of stalling in your career, or you're feeling uncomfortable, or you feel like you have a negative mindset and you're ready to take it to the next level, then start reflecting on your accountability. Observe your thoughts in the day, see how much complaining, whining, analyzing, judging, labeling you're doing of others, versus asking yourself the question, how am I contributing to this situation in my life? And it might be very difficult to hear that question, but if you're ready to hear that question and humbly start observing yourself, your life this year is going to transform. It's going to transform. You can be the best technical performer, but if you do not have the right accountability and mindset, and if you are emotionally expensive in the workplace, it is stopping you from progressing, right? So I'm going to go back to that time where I went back from my first maternity leave. I remember it. I remember that conversation with a colleague over a hot bowl of soup and I was breaking down in tears and I had no idea, like, why was this happening to me? Why was life so difficult as a working mom? And this topic that I'm talking to you about today appeared on my LinkedIn feed, and I haven't been the same person since. And it's made me really want to be part of the solution for mothers. But my way of doing that is empowering you to be an accountable leader and actually thinking through really the type of life you want for yourself as a mother, as a professional. What impact do you want to make? What kind of house life do you want? What kind of support system do you need? What kind of mindset is required for you to really enjoy your career, to enjoy your children, to be yourself, to bring real feminine leadership to the table, but that's also grounded and accountable for the change that you want to see in the world? That's a very different type of energy than, the system is not made for us, and like it becomes your main topic of obsession, right? Let's take it to the next level. Let's redesign life at a next level. Let's redesign with vision, with values, with accountability, with joy, with true self-leadership on what you want to teach your kids, with the impact you want to make, with playing the long game, with really changing the rules of the game, not just trying to play by the old rules that are keeping you stuck and frustrated and blaming, but actually designing it at the next level. Does that sound a bit abstract to you? Maybe, and that's okay. Again, I was talking to the two engineers today and they were like, we love what you're doing. We see the results. You're the only one doing this for engineer mothers with the results that you have, but it's so hard to describe in one sentence. And I say, yes, I understand, because some people will be focused just on career. Some people will be focused just on money for women. Others will be just health. But I like to take a holistic approach of how everything fits together. And that requires a high level of accountability, right? It requires dreaming up a different future. So I believe that your mindset, your relationships, your definition of career and family life integration, balance, harmony, whatever you want to call it, your personal brand, your finances, your career skills, leadership, diversity and inclusion, like all of these pillars have to be looked at together. The long game has to be designed together. It has to align. Your actions have to align with that, right? So that's what I do in this space of accountability, is I help mothers through this period where the disposition can be everybody telling you, oh yeah, it's so hard. Life is so hard. Life is not designed for mothers. Like, it's so difficult to be a working mother. I want to create a space and a community for you. I am creating a space where we have really amazing top performers coming together. We design a vision. We look at our values. We look at our mindset. And every week and every month we come together for some group accountability. We learn together, we grow together, we get promoted together, we make more money together, we heal our marriages together, we design, we get imaginative about the infrastructure of the future and how to engineer different circumstances for our children. And that takes accountability. You can't spend your day, just thinking about how the system is failing you and redesign a better world for your children. You have to be the creator. You have to be the creator of that. You have to be the designer of that, right? So the message I want to leave you with today is accountability is a mindset. It's not a skill set. Observe your thoughts. Be humble. I know if you're going through something really difficult as a mom, it's so tempting to say, like, my husband's not doing the heavy lifting, or the policies are not friendly towards me, or it's not fair. But where's that going to take you in 3 months and 6 months? Wouldn't you rather be in a space of joyful creation, of community, of people who support you, right? Don't get me wrong. Like, we cry together. There are times where, as really accountable moms, we're like, yeah, it's not fair. It's difficult. This was a really tough time for me. And that's okay. There's time and space for that. The danger is that if that's your dominant energy, you're not going to feel great about your life, your work, right? And I would love to continue this talk and talk about another disposition. I think I'll cover it in another podcast. But I posted this week that we are finally sleeping again, right? And we hired a sleep consultant, and I paid a premium price for that. I mean, my daughter is 4 months, and we really had to gently ease her into a sleeping pattern. We took spring break to ease her into sleeping in her crib, and now on the best nights, she wakes 1 time per night. So I could have spent my time complaining about how I'm sleep deprived and how I'm not getting anything done. But no, like, we have a vision of me sleeping, my husband sleeping, my kids sleeping, and we invested the money. And with my first child, I push that off. I wanted to try all the books and figure it out by myself. And I suffered sleep deprived for months. And I cried when I thought my husband would crash on the highway going to work. And I didn't want to spend a few $100s to get help, right? But this time around, I'm investing in all the support systems, the sleep consultant, like extra help at home, mentorship for myself. I'm not in a scarcity mindset anymore. I like going into those levels of accountability at a different level, plus mentorship to learn meditation, to set myself business goals. I've learned as a business owner that accountability is not an option. Everything depends on me, my employees' performance, my own performance, my clients' results. There's no blaming others. And if I make choices to, take more time or like not get help immediately, you have to be ready to face the consequences. I want my business to thrive. I want my clients to thrive. I want my children to thrive. I want my marriage to thrive. There's no place for blaming here. It's all about taking accountability for my reality, my results. And yes, are there parts of the system that are not designed for me to thrive? Absolutely. I think about it, the tax system every day, like the pension plans, everything, even my own accounting, right? It's like I feel like I have to jump through a bunch of hoops to get to the financial destination I want to get to, because there are tons of blueprints for women like me who created their businesses as a mother and who want to thrive, right? So there were times in my mind I was like, ugh, why is this so tough? Ugh, why am I getting contradictory advice? This is not fair. The tax rules were written by guys. Why is the government so sexist in its tax policies? Where was this getting me? Nowhere. I simply had to accept that I'm paving the way. I have a vision. It might take me a few financial cycles, a few years to figure out how to do this tax planning right so that I can, maximize the functioning of my business, my profitability, and that nobody's going to show me how. And yes, the world was designed by men and for men to thrive, and I'm paving a new way. And if I remind myself of how much of a victim of the system I am every day, I'm grumpy, I'm not happy, right? I'm not going anywhere. So I will, if you're tuning at the end of this, I want to make sure that everybody who's listening has heard the disclaimer that if you are struggling with any anxiety, depression, this message today might be very difficult and counterproductive for you to hear. So if that's, please reach out to me personally if you need support on that front. Accountability can be a funny beast. And I know that some people will struggle with the concept that I explored today, but I'm telling you, it's been the most game-changing disposition that I've had to learn in my life to heal a lot of stuff from my past. Now I'm approaching my 40s. And earlier in my existence, I still had a blame mindset of blaming people around me for what I believed, for what I did, for like how I behaved, because I felt stuck in my patterns. And it's been a few years of making significant efforts to change that neural circuitry and to embrace that accountability mindset, and also have a lot of faith, because okay, we can get talking about things like, well, what if I get sick from what's in my water? And even if though I try to filter it, what about the air that might be dirty because others are polluting it? For sure, that is not my fault, and I can't control everything, right? We live in a time and age where we can't have accountability over every single thing that happens in our lives. Too many people are getting ill, maybe, from cancer, even if they make the best lifestyle choices. So I can have that philosophical conversation with you over coffee if you want. It's not for a podcast. So, be accountable in your understanding of accountability. Get curious. If this conversation today brought up some depth for you, some curiosity, some openness, then explore that. Go on your own journey of understanding what accountability is. Message me. I'm happy to share the resources and like the self-assessments to see what your drama score is, and the mentors that have supported me through this process. I want to support you. I want to help you succeed. And it starts with accountability. So I hope that this planted a seed for you that you want to nurture. I hope that you will take it as a positive message. If this message triggers something and is a struggle, I'm a warm and welcoming person. I'm happy to have a conversation with you. And until then, thank you for tuning into the Engineer Your Success, Leadership, and Life Harmony Like a Mother show. If you have insights about your accountability journey, please feel free to type them in the comments. I'm here to support you. And as one of my mentors says, also, she says, shake you with love. I'm borrowing that from her. And yes. All right. Have a great afternoon, everyone. See you next time. And I'm recording this in April. Feel free to join us for our upcoming webinars on building your legacy as an engineer and mother. And then later in April, we're doing our longer workshop of building your working motherhood webinar manual. So register on our webpage, prosandbabes.com. And if you found this recording or this podcast useful or this live show useful, please invite a friend. Accountability is best done when we have buddies. Bye.